Hey everybody, it's me Stacy at Scrapbooking Made Simple here with another YouTube demo for you today. Today we're going to be playing with some new stamps we got in from Leblanc Stamps. They're a stamp company out of Germany and they make silicone stamps. Not rubber, not clear, but silicone. And the etching on them is fabulous. Now, I ordered these stamps quite a while ago since they're out of Germany, but when I actually got to see them at CHA, I was even more happy with my decision to bring them in. So we're going to get started and I'm going to scroll on down because we're also going to be playing with Tim Holtz products and Copic products. So let's get started, okay? Bye! All right, there we go. I think we're good there. So I've got a Leblanc stamp here. This is an image that I stamped and the actual stamp is here. And I want you to see just how good the image quality is and the line quality is. This happens to be the Leblanc paper that I stamped on, and we're not exactly sure what kind of paper it is. It's definitely a non-coated paper, but I wanted to show you the difference between the stamps. The paper here, this one here, is Copic Express paper, and it's absolutely beautiful paper, but look at the image quality on the Leblanc paper. It's fabulous. It's superior. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to stamp on anything ever again. And we do have the Leblanc paper coming in. Again, it's coming in from Germany, so I have it coming in bulk. So we'll have that here for you, and I do have some pieces now, but not much. Their stamps are on a foamy type of a block, very lightweight, and it's a silicone stamp. It's not clear, it's not rubber, it's silicone. And what that allows the stamp to do is get some very deep etching and some very good line drawing on here. I hope you can see the line etching and the detail in there. They're just absolutely stunning. So we're going to play with these today, and I'm going to show you some samples that we've been making, and we'll get started. Okay, so I'm going to take my piece of Leblanc stamping paper and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my Memento ink. Now, the reason I'm using the Memento ink is twofold. First off, I really like it. It's a great ink. Second, if you want to use your Copics with it, it allows you to. It's one of the only inks that allows you to then color with your Copics and not have any bleeding or feathering problems. So it's a beautiful ink to begin with. If you don't want to use your Copics, it's still a beautiful ink, but if you do want to use your Copics, you can. So it's like an all-purpose ink for us. You might as well use it even if you're not sure you're going to use your Copics. So I've stamped up my image, or inked up my image, I'm sorry, inked up my image here, and I'm going to go ahead and press it straight on down. Now, because this is a foamy pad, you just have to kind of push around a little bit, push on the image. You're not using a block, so you don't have to push really hard down. That's not the goal of this. You're not going to put your hand on there and push like you would for a normal block. You're just going to kind of press down all over until you think you've got a good image. The stamps are so easy to use, you really can't go wrong with them. And up I go. It almost looks like a lithograph. It looks like you've printed it. It's just stunning. So I've got my image there. Now what I want to do is take my Essentials watermark resist pad here, and I'm going to put some resist pattern on here with another one of the Leblanc stamps. Now this is a fabulous stamp. We're going to sell out of this thing so fast it's going to be crazy. So I open it up. I've got my pad. And I'm just going to ink up my stamp. And I'm going to very, very randomly just kind of put some of my swirls on here. Again, not too much thought into where I'm putting them. Just trying to give a little bit of a resist pattern. Now, for those of you who don't know what a resist is, it's by putting down one medium that when you put another medium on top of it, it will resist that first medium. And I will show you what I mean. All right, I've got some resist on there, and I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but you can see a little bit of a watermark maybe up in here area all around the corners. Now, what I need you to do when you're doing this is take your heat gun. I want you to use your heat gun because that resist ink has to be dry before you do anything to it. So you would take your heat gun and you would dry your resist ink. That's really important. With this paper that we're using, it has a slight non-porous feel to it, so the ink doesn't sink right in, it doesn't absorb right in too quickly. Now I'm not going to take my heat gun, I'm going to go ahead and let you do that at home, and by instant presto, poof, I have got one that's all ready to go. My ink is all dry and it's ready to use my resist ink, my distress ink from Tim Holtz. So that's what I've got here, the distress ink, and I'm going to be using my distress ink Dauber, which has a foamy sponge to it. Now that foamy sponge is really important because he does make two daubers like this. He makes a tool that also works for alcohol ink, and that's got a felt pad. You want to make sure you use the one with the foamy pad. And we do have the foamy pads, they sell them. And I don't ever wash these. I have one foamy pad per color family. So I have some in the browns, I have this one that does the greens, and I just use them again and again and again. And I don't necessarily mind that I'm mixing perhaps antique linen with my tea dye. It's all in the same color family, and the distress inks really are meant to blend, so I really like the look of it. You don't need a pad for every single color of distress inks you have. So I am going to take my distress ink right here, and I'm going to go ahead and ink it up. And the way they really like you to do it is to kind of start off of your page, off of your paper here, onto your mat or paper or whatever you have underneath, kind of swirl it off and then work it on. And that's what I'll do. Now once you've got a good coating on here with the distress ink, you don't necessarily have to do that anymore. You can go straight to the paper, but it's so you don't get a square image impressed onto your paper. So I'm going to do half of this, and then I'm going to show you where the resist is. So as you can see, I'm going straight from my ink pad to my paper now because I don't really need to work off anymore. All right, so here we go. We've got the resist here that I did with my stamp, with this stamp, and my watermark resist pad from Ink Essentials, which is a Ranger product. So you can see how where I stamped on the paper, it has resisted the ink that I've put on top of it. It's resisted the distress ink. Okay? Now I can go and finish all of this and it'll have the same look. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so we're just going right over it. And of course you can mix your colors because that's the benefit of the distress ink. You can add colors and blend colors and mix colors. And it's really just beautiful. You can't go wrong with the distress inks. And we do have them in the inks and in the ink pads and the re-inkers. This one happens to be Tattered Rose. It's one of my favorite colors. I did some stuff with Tattered Rose a little earlier, and I'll show you the samples I did with that. And the darker you want it, the more you go over. Okay. So there we go. There's the base of my card. Isn't he just gorgeous? I just love him. All right, then we're going to take our trusty dusty Copic markers because we love our Copics. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to color. Now, I'll take my, well, let's go with the pink because that's what we used earlier in my sample that I'm going to show you. I'm going to take my pink and I'm going to take my brush pen and I am just going to color in where I want the pink, and I want it on the flower. And I like very subtle colors, especially on something that looks so vintagey. I don't necessarily want it to be in your face. And I'm just going to go right in. And again, because we use the Memento ink, we can use our Copics. Had I used a StazOn or a Versa ink. We wouldn't be able to go in, or an archival ink. We wouldn't be able to go in and color with the Copics because the color, the black, would then bleed. Can you see me coloring in my flowers? Then I'm going to take a green and we'll color in, we'll color in some of our leaves here. And you can take and you can mix your Copic colors right on the paper. I just love the vintage feel of this, and I love the vintage look. They're just beautiful. So I've gone in and I've colored a couple of my leaves. And I'm just slowly adding color. Now I also like him to have a little pink cheek. So I'm going to take my blender, my Copic blender pen, and I'm going to take my red, and I'm going to take my blender pen directly to my red ink just to pick up a little color. And that's one of the benefits of Copic. You can go pen to pen transfer and it works great. So then I'm just going to take a little bit of the red, put it in. And then soften it out. And just soften it out. So he has a little bit of a pink cheek. Okay, so that's where I'm at so far. He's got a little bit of a pink cheek. Then I'm going to go back over it one more time with my distress ink, and that gives it a beautiful glossy feel. It just really blends the colors and mixes them so phenomenally. And it brings them to life. It almost heightens the color a little bit by going over him one more time with a little bit more of my distress ink. I just love these distress inks. Oh my gosh. We've been having so much fun with them with these stamps. And there you go. It's gorgeous. Oh, yay! Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the samples that we've done. I have a sample here. Again, we've used distress inks all the way around, and we've used the stamps. We've used Copics to color. Beautiful. Then I have another sample with another stamp. This time we kept it very subtle and very light. And then the exact same stamp with a little more detail, a little bit darker in the color. And we actually went back and took this stamp and then we watermarked it. But after we watermarked it, we went back and stamped again in just black on top to give a little more definition. And then one more time, just playing with the colors, because you really can't go wrong. There's no colors that don't blend just beautifully in the distress inks. And the Copics, if you put it down and you don't like necessarily the color you used, you take your blender pen and wipe it back up. Finally, I have the card, the finished card of the one we did today. And there it is, all done. Okay, so what did we learn today? We learned that we got in new Leblanc stamps from Germany that are amazing. We absolutely love them. We learned that we use our distress inks on their specialty paper to blend, and that the Memento ink, where's my Memento ink, is really the one ink that does everything that you need, especially if you think that you may want to color it with Copic markers. We learned that the water resist pad is what you do to get a resist, and a resist is putting one medium down first that once you put another on top resists that top medium. So the watermark resist pad resisted the Tim Holtz Distress ink, giving us this beautiful look. Okay, now these are in stock now. We have a decent selection, but there's more coming next week and then one more shipment the week after. And we hope you enjoyed the demo. Thanks so much, and shop Scrapbook